first thing, and perhaps the only thing you'll think of when you hear the word Davidian, is the notorious standoff of the Branch Davidians led by David Koresh in Waco, Texas, against law enforcement from February through April 1993, which led to their compound, Mount Carmel Center, being burned to the ground and 82 people dying. Davidians and the Shepherd's Rod are not Branch Davidians, but they are connected. So we're going to begin by making clear who these people really are. But first, I want to let you know that this video is part of a collaboration between myself and Matt Baker of Useful Charts. Matt has been charting out the family tree of Christian denominations, and this week his video includes a discussion of the Adventist branch. So once you've watched this video about the Davidians, head over there and learn more about where Adventists and some other denominations come from. Now to explain Davidians, let's go back to the beginning. The Seventh-day Adventist Church was officially founded in 1863. One of the co-founders of the church was Ellen G. White, whose writings are called The Spirit of Prophecy. White died in 1915. 4 years later, in 1919, a man by the name of Victor Hotep joined the SDA Church. He had been born in Bulgaria, baptized as a member of the Bulgarian Orthodox Church, but now in Illinois, he discovered and accepted the teachings of the Adventists. In the 1920s, he moved to California, and in his new congregation, Hotep quickly became a leader. He was a Sabbath school teacher, and he dug deeply into the topics of Bible prophecy and the future. However, his teachings met with opposition, and ultimately, he was disfellowshipped from the church. Hotep appealed to the conference, invited him to study his teachings, but he was rebuffed. In 1929, he completed a book called The Shepherd's Rod, in which he laid out his doctrines in a systematized way. The book was published in 1930, and a second volume was added in 1932. In 1935, Hotep and his followers purchased 189 acres of land nearby Waco, Texas, to use as a headquarters for their teaching. In 1937, he formed the General Association of Shepherd's Rod Seventh-day Adventists, which later became the General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists. However, the Davidians didn't have their own churches. Rather, Hotep taught that they should attend regular Seventh-day Adventist churches. The practice continues to the present. Their primary target in evangelism was Seventh-day Adventists, and today, in most Davidian groups, most or all evangelism is targeted at SDA church members. Over time, Hotep's teachings gained more influence and followers. Some estimates put the number of adherents in the 1950s around 100,000, but everything would quickly change. In 1953, a door-to-door campaign was launched to locate and provide Seventh-day Adventists with Davidian writings and magazines. Things were going well, but in 1955, unexpectedly, Victor Hotep died. The Executive Council of the General Association had not been prepared for this scenario. The day following Victor's death, his wife Florence met with the council and told them that Brother Hotep, as he was and still is known, had recommended she be made vice president before his death. Although no proof was given, the council did so, and Florence became the effective leader of the Davidians. Florence began publishing materials in the Symbolic Code magazine that she claimed were written by her husband before his death. One of these was a claim that Revelation 11:36 prophesies a 42-month period which would end on April 22, 1959, with dramatic and visible events in the Middle East providing the validity of the Shepherd's Rod teachings, including the resurrection of her husband Victor. Florence challenged the Seventh-day Adventist Church leadership to accept the Shepherd's Rod teachings, staking everything on the 1959 prediction. If it didn't come to pass, she said, it would prove them to be wrong. Not everyone believed that Florence was the right leader for the Davidians or that the prediction was true. In the same year of 1955, Benjamin Rodin claimed that God had revealed he should be in charge. Rodin presented as evidence letters that were signed with the name, the branch. Isaiah 11:1 says, there shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. Rodin said that Jesus now identified as the branch, and claimed to simply be following the branch. When the council and Florence Hotep rejected his claims, he started his own organization and took followers with him. This group was known as the Branch Davidians. A catchphrase Rodin liked to use was, get off a dead rod onto a living branch. The Branch Davidians rejected the 1959 prophecy publicly, and some other Davidians were skeptical. When ultimately the prediction didn't come to pass, the Davidians began to splinter, and many exited the movement. After discussions with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, ultimately in 1962, Florence and the board dissolved the organization she controlled and rejected the Shepherd's Rod teachings altogether. Let's briefly talk about what became of the Branch Davidians, and then we'll focus on the Davidians since this video is about their story. With Florence shutting down the operations of the Davidians in Waco, Texas, Ben Rodin bought up everything he could. Rodin and the Branch Davidians came to own the church's compound in New Mount Carmel, which soon became known as the Mount Carmel Center. In 1978, Ben Roden died and his wife Lois became the leader. She continued to modify Branch Davidian theology away from Victor Hotep's teachings, including stating that the Holy Spirit was feminine. A few years later, in 1981, Vernon Howell, a man in his early 20s who was born in the year of the failed prophecy, came to the compound and was well received by the Branch Davidians. In 1983, Howell ended up creating another splinter group called the Davidian Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, which many Branch Davidians followed. When in 1986 Lois Roden died, a power struggle ensued between her son George Roden and the Branch Davidians who continued to follow him, and Howell. After years of fighting between the groups, Howell got the upper hand and was able to take control of the Mount Carmel Center from the original Branch Davidian group. Claiming to be the leader of the Branch Davidians, Howell changed his name to David Koresh in 1990, which was part of his claim to be a Messiah. David refers to King David from whom the Messiah would come, and Koresh being Hebrew for Cyrus, a biblical king sometimes called the Messiah, for freeing the Jews from captivity. He also engaged in polygamy and taught many things different from what the Branch Davidians believed. The rest of that story, as they say, is history, when in 1993, Koresh's group of Branch Davidians bunkered down at the Mount Carmel Center after receiving a tip that the ATF was going to raid the building after obtaining a search warrant. The warrant revolved around evidence that the Davidians were stockpiling illegal weapons, but they also had been accused of child abuse and statutory rape. After a 51-day siege and gunfights resulting in deaths of both federal agents and Branch Davidians, the building became engulfed in flames on April 18, 1993, and burned to the ground. Only 9 people left the building during the fire. Everyone else inside died. Most people today believe that Koresh was the leader of the Branch Davidians. Well, that title is what he claimed, but some Branch Davidians who rejected Koresh still exist today as the General Association of Branch Davidians. Koresh was illegally usurping the name and identity of the Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, at least on paper. In his teaching, however, Koresh abandoned all things Branch Davidian, including the name. During the 1990s, Koresh and his followers did not self-identify as Branch Davidians. Instead, they called themselves the Students of the Seven Seals, only using the branch name for records in order to keep the branch property. Doug Mitchell, the president of this group during the time of the Waco siege, wrote the book Waco Untold, how David Koresh stole the identity of the Branch Davidians. Now, let's look back at before the events at Waco happened. After the failed 1959 prediction and the 1962 dissolving of the General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, the vast majority of Davidians still wanted nothing to do with the Branch Davidians. However, they weren't convinced that the prophecy had ever been legitimate. Florence Hotep had said that her husband made the prediction, but he had never spoken of it while he was alive. Rather than rejecting the shepherd's prophecies, they rejected Florence and went on to re-establish Davidian organizations. A major controversy in all of this was the sermons and writings that Florence had published, which were supposedly Victor Hotep's work. Should these be viewed as authoritative doctrinal teaching? Davidians are unanimous in their acceptance of things Victor Hotep published himself in his life, but there were questions about what Florence published. These publications are referred to today as the New Codes, or sometimes derogatorily as the Florence Codes. For some Davidians, it was 100% rod only, meaning only what Hotep himself published. Perhaps these new codes were forgeries, or maybe there were things written by Brother Hotep, but that he had intentionally not published, knowing something was wrong with them. Other Davidians, though, saw the new codes as a mixture of truth and error, and were cautious to not throw out the baby with the bathwater. This today is still one of the greatest sources of contention between various Davidian groups, and yes, there's many of them. In fact, it's nearly impossible without a person becoming intimately familiar with all of Hotep's writings and then making a careful evaluation of the options to determine which of the groups existing today are the rightful heirs of the Shepherd's Rod movement. Here's some of the options. The most popular have shorthand names that people call them by, since, as you'll quickly see, using the names they claim for themselves can be confusing. At DavidianToday.org, you'll find the website for the GADSTA, that means General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, one of the names Hotep used for the organization. They have a building in Waco, Texas called the Mount Carmel Center, the name Hotep named the original center that they used. Various Davidians often just call this group Waco. They publish Hotep's writings in a magazine format called the Symbolic Code, the same name Hotep used. Now, here's the website of a different group. You'll note that they are also the General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists. They also have a Mount Carmel Center, 2 addresses in this case, and their symbolic code publication. This group is called Salem Among Davidians. Killing Avenue. Here's a third website. This group is headquartered in Missouri and uses the name of the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Association. They also use the name Universal Publishing Association, which was the name Pontiff used to publish his writings under originally. This group also self-identifies as Bashan Hill, and that's what other Davidians call them. This is the website of the Universal Publishing Association. Sound familiar? But this one definitely is not a fan of the other one at Bashan Hill. They also republish the original symbolic code publications. The website is upa7.org, and they're known as UPA7, or people refer to the man behind the website, Eric Edstrom. Then there's this website, once again, the General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists. Oh, and they are also the Universal Publishing Association at the Mount Carmel Center. They also publish symbolic code. This one is in Mountaindale, New York, and they're known as Mountaindale. Mountaindale has a split, and that's this website's origin. They're called the 11th Hour Ministry. One online Davidian writer who is somewhat prolific but is associated with them is Rob Peralta. A newcomer to the scene is Samuel Gonzalez, who bought a house on Mount Carmel Drive in Waco, Texas, and bought some domain names and has made some official-looking Davidian websites on them. This project is still in progress, but it looks nice. Gonzalez's websites include the General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, VictorHontef.com, Davidians.com, UniversalPublishing.com, ShepherdsRod.com, and more. The International General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists is another one, but they don't have an online presence, but they do print the symbolic code. And finally, not because I've run out of organizations, but because I have to stop somewhere, is the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Church, aka the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Association, aka the Universal Publishing Association, Wave Sheaf Ministries, and more, which publishes the symbolic code and has a Mount Carmel Center in Waco, Texas. No, not affiliated with the other two mentioned groups in Waco. I've mentioned it a bit already, but most of these organizations don't really like each other, and many view themselves as alone the true representatives of right theology. Salem says, consequently, just as plain as heaven can make it, the truth stands out that the kingdom of heaven today has passed from the hands of the General Conference to the hands of the General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists at Mount Carmel Center, P.O. Box 450, Salem, South Carolina, 29676, or 282 Davidian Way, Tallahassee, South Carolina, 29686. As verily as they passed from the Sanhedrin to Peter in the days of Christ's first advent. Eric Edstrom at UPA7 says, something is terribly wrong with Rob Peralta. He is going insane in his hatred of the work God has ordained to establish storehouses around the world to reach 21+ million SDAs with the meat in due season, the original Shepherd's Rod message. He continues to attack the ministry at UPA7.org and propagate lies in a desperate effort to defend his idols. The apostate Florence Hontef worshiping knockout-blown General Association of Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, GAPSDA, is located at Mountaindale and Waco. Lennox Sam from the Davidian SDA Church says, the identifiable leading active Jesuits of Davidia are Bashan Hill, the Bingham Dynasty, UPA7, Eric Edstrom, Dystopia, Dr. Blogger, and Robert Peralta. Rob Peralta says, unbelievably, the title of this post is basically what we heard recently from UPA7, Eric Edstrom. This brother, and he needs no introduction as to falsehood, has just about topped himself in his latest statements of twisted truth. Mountaindale says, the Bashan heresy. The above teachings accepted lead the believer to a host of many other theories taking them further away out to sea, and only miracle may pull one back to the solid earth of truth. Bashan Hill says, who is the heaven-appointed living quarter at Mountaindale? No one, absolutely no one. Hence the entire company of Mountaindale marauders are impostors and humbugs, wolves and thieves. May they wake up to their peril, flee to Bashan, where only they can become authorized shepherds. I sent a personal email to Samuel Gonzalez asking where his new websites stand. He said in part, the current organizations are dispensing error and have been for many years. We have had to take the work and move forward with it because the leaders of these organizations have manifested no desire to forfeit their errors and repent of them. So what are the main teachings of the Davidians? Remember that they are Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, so much of the base of their beliefs are the teachings of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, though of course there are some differences too. Davidians hold to a set of fundamental beliefs that begins with ones that match the ones the SDA Church had in 1940. And these say, for example, that the Bible is the only unerring rule of faith and practice. They affirm the doctrine of the Trinity, affirm the deity of Christ, his miracles, death on the cross, resurrection, ascension, and intercession for believers. They affirm the necessity of the new birth through faith in Christ and baptism following repentance and forgiveness of sins by immersion. They also say that the 10 Commandments are binding upon all men in every age, and that observance of the seventh-day Sabbath is required. Like the SDA Church, Davidians teach conditional immortality, that is, that only those who trust in Christ will have conscious existence in eternity, while those who do not will be put out of existence. They also teach that people who are dead are not in a conscious state. There is a future millennium before which believers will be resurrected, and after which unbelievers will be resurrected to face judgment. During the millennium, the saints of all ages will live with Christ in heaven. Additionally, they affirm the teaching which is unique to Seventh-day Adventist groups that the year 1844 was predicted in Daniel 8:14 and is the time that the heavenly sanctuary was cleansed. Further, beginning in that year, Christ began a period of investigative judgment which continues to the present. Like the SDA Church, they affirm the teaching of the three angels' messages of Revelation 14. In addition, the tract published by Hontep titled Fundamental Beliefs and Directives for Davidian Seventh-day Adventists listed 15 additional beliefs. These beliefs mostly concern interpretations of Bible prophecy. The first says that the prophetic gift in the Seventh-day Adventist Church ceased its manifestation in 1915 and was not remanifested until 1930. This refers firstly to Ellen White, who was, as I mentioned earlier, said to have a gift of the spirit of prophecy, and who died in 1915. And secondly, the beginning of the publishing work of Victor Hontep. The Shepherd's Rod book was originally published in 1930. Many Davidians would refer to Hontep's published works as an inspired commentary. The second belief indicates that the prophetic gift of Hontep was predicted in Ezekiel 4 and also in one of the writings of Ellen White. The third belief tells the purpose of the Shepherd's Rod message in the Davidian movement, which is to effect the sealing of the 144,000 servants of God and to give power and force to the angels' messages. The fourth belief says that the destruction of the tares from among the first fruits of the living results in the purification of the church. This is explained in one of Hontep's writings further in this way. If the leaders in God's church at the present time should accept the 11th hour call, it would be out of the ordinary. But should they reject it, God cannot start a new movement, for there is time no longer. If there is no time for a new movement, then there is but one solution to the perplexing problem, and that is to separate the wheat from the tares by smiting the class who are controlling the work and keeping
Where you want me to drop you?
Sin.
I want an alto place.
Out of the way by the 5 men
Howick Ave. It's not that far.
This teaching then is that the biblical description of the separation of the tares refers to a future time.
I just got a mouthful of something. You better take it slow.
Those who are found lacking.
Hey, thanks for this, man. As you can see, I could have driven. No problem. Joy killer back there. He'll lay a guilt trip on me.
Are several more eschatological teachings, such as a time of trouble.
What do you think this is? Europe? Because I sound drunk doesn't mean my brain's drunk. Yeah, it's offensive. You don't call a deaf kid stupid for talking funny. I can't believe he just walked out without me. Why do guys turn into such assholes when they get married? Well, he can go back to his boring family to jacking off in the garage after everyone's gone to bed. I'll stick with my awesome life. Thank you.
Why don't you give your mouth a rest?
Are you fucking wasted or something?
So the commentary, is it really necessary?
Ouch! This is nothing. You should see me on Thanksgiving, pumping the turkey, shouting, you like my wishbone, don't you? Look at classic me. The ladies in that place, dude! Oh, me like a wretch. I'd have cleaned up if I didn't have the worst fucking wingman ever. Be nice if everything stopped spinning around, son. Blah, 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 cheap, have you any booze? No, sir, cheap. Last time I partied with that guy, boring. Not bored, dude. I don't want to hear about your baby. Whiskey chaser. Coming back to me now. I'm no Nostradamus, but I predict a lot of internet porn in the near future.
Yeah, you must be a great guy to hang out with.
And the only genuine visible certification of the past. These are the only absolutely convincing evidences of one's worthiness to membership in the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Association. What are the disagreements between the various Davidian organizations. The original structure of the Davidian organization was that the president was also the prophet, and so after Hatep's death, the vice president effectively was the highest office, as nobody claimed to have the spirit of prophecy. As a result, some Davidian organizations today still have this vice president without a president organizational structure, and others highly
Thanks for
criticize
the
it.
ride, man.
New codes, those
I gotta
writings
get
purportedly
inside.
by Victor
I built
Hatep
this
that he
build
did
I
not
got.
publish, but that his
Take
wife
this to
did
the
following
gas.
his death,
I'll see
and
you
whether they
around.
should be used is
Dude, you're a
another major
mess.
source
Go
of
on, get
disagreement.
out of here.
This point itself is contentious, but then, if a person accepts use of the new codes, some of what is taught in them contains different doctrinal teaching, which becomes a further source of argument. Another area of controversy is the issue of tithing. What is the storehouse that tithes should be sent to? Some of the organizations claim to be the only legitimate place to which Davidians should tithe. Hatep had written, God's storehouse has ever been and ever will be where the message of the hour is, where present truth is, the house from which meat in due season is dispensed at the time the tithes are paid. Since the location tithes should go is dependent on who has the truth, there are competing claims among Davidians as to who meets the requirements. Several Davidian groups make arguments based on the geographic location of their headquarters. From California, Hatep moved the headquarters to Waco, and from there, some Davidians argue that it must continue to head east. This graphic is from the Salem organization's website, along with an article titled, Why Salem is God's True Headquarters. Part of it says, 1970, Jesus said to move eastward. Mount Carmel in Riverside, California moved to Brother Hatep's Rest Home Sanitarium in Salem, South Carolina to fulfill this. The Salem Association is born as God's third location for his headquarters. 1973. Some Davidians who lived in California refused to accept that Ezekiel's stream, the flow of truth, was to flow eastward. They took the Salem Association to court, lost the case, and broke away from Salem to establish their own headquarters in the West, Piper, California. Unfortunately, the internet is so packed with descriptions of the branch Davidians that it can be difficult to find information on the Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, even though there are many websites that are part of them. If you want to continue your own research, the websites of the main organizations and some others are listed in the description of this video. Now don't forget to head over to the Useful Church channel and learn about Christian denominations and where they come from with today's new release that includes Adventists and more.
So first of all, the problem with this question is that, when you say Mennonite, it can mean many different things. If you say Amish, you have a pretty clear picture of what you mean. You mean someone with plain clothes, beard, or prayer covering on their head, using a horse and buggy, using very low or restricted levels of technology. When you say Mennonite, now that can mean a variety of types of people. It can be anything from a very, let's say, modern person who uses a computer, the internet, cars, and would be indistinguishable visually from most other Americans. Mennonite can also be someone who also uses a horse and buggy as their primary transportation, that also wears plain clothing, that also speaks Pennsylvania German, that also uses restricted technology, has a lot of things in common with the Amish. There's a lot of range in the churches that use the word Mennonite to describe themselves. So the Amish, the Mennonites, a couple other groups, the Hutterites, they all share a similar history. They come from a group known as the Anabaptist. Amish Mennonites both come from that background. In their, of course, in their history, there was a division, and you have a certain group of followers that followed the leader Jacob Ahmed, eventually became known as the Amish. Okay, and they were kind of more plain and more traditional groups there. And so over time, you've had, even within the Amish, groups that have become more modern and progressive. Some churches that have eventually become car-driving churches. In contrast to that, you have the Old Order pathway. When we talk about the Amish today, we talk about the Old Order Amish. So the further you go away in those terms, the fewer similarities Mennonites would have with Old Order Amish. So the groups that are most similar to the Amish within the Mennonites would be the Old Order Mennonites, and also you could include the Old Colony Mennonites. So the Old Order Mennonites, significantly smaller group than the Amish, but you'll find them living side by side as neighbors, basically, with the Amish in certain communities communities. One would be Lancaster County, which is a very large Old Order Mennonite community there. So you'll see the Amish and Mennonite, Old Order Mennonites living side by side in some places. They also wear plain clothing, though it's a different style than the Amish. Women wear head coverings, prayer coverings. They use the horse and buggy, drive similar buggies to the Amish. Old Order Mennonite buggies will be a different style. In Lancaster County, you can tell it's an Amish buggy. By its color, it's a gray color, and then Mennonite buggies there look black, kind of a little bit different design. They also use restricted levels of technology. The Old Order Mennonites also speak Pennsylvania German as well, so the Amish and the Mennonites have that in common. The Old Order Mennonites also cooperate with the Amish in certain ways. They're culturally close to one another, so you may have things like joint auctions. Certain schoolhouses in Lancaster County are essentially joint Amish and Mennonite schools. So you'll have children that are Amish and then also plain Mennonites attending those schools. And there's maybe horse and buggy Mennonites. There are also some conservative Mennonites, black bumper Mennonites in this neighborhood. And some of those children may also attend those schools. You even have some shared cultural aspects in forms of recreation. Specifically, there is a game called Cornerball. That's a game that I had a chance to witness on one occasion, and it's basically kind of like a game of dodgeball, where you have two teams and they try to hit one another with kind of like a hard ball. You hear the ball get hurt pretty badly if you get hit. And it was Amish teams versus Mennonite teams, and there was quite a few spectators there, both Amish and Mennonite. Even some older people that came out to watch this game. While there are similarities, there are differences. I already mentioned that, they do wear plain clothing, and it's a different style, okay, different buggies. So the Old Order Mennonite men do not grow facial hair. The Amish men do grow beard. I see there's a biblical basis for that. Another one would be the place of worship. Now, the Old Order Mennonites will worship in a meeting house, so especially built structure, especially for worship. Most Amish will worship in the home. In the basement of the home, they have their church gathering there, or in a workshop or another building, even the barn. Another difference there would be the church structure. Amish church district, which typically is made up of about 25 to 35 families, or around 150 people total. Each district will have typically its own bishop, ministers, and deacon. Within the Old Order Mennonites, they have a lot fewer bishops, so you have more authority vested in fewer people in the Old Order Mennonite churches. So those are some of the differences there, but they tend to be culturally quite alike. So, you'll see the Amish and the Mennonites, as I mentioned, cooperating on different things, and they're going to be able to relate to each other on the same level. They have a shared history, they have shared faith, essentially. Now, the Old Colony Mennonites are a group that are primarily found in Mexico. They're found in Belize. Some are located in Canada. There are even a few in the United States. Some in other Latin American countries, but the bulk of them would be in Mexico. This is a group which also uses highly restricted technology. They have differences in their style of clothing. They don't wear beards either. Some of the Old Colony Mennonites permit and use automobiles. Some could use horse-drawn transport. They also speak a different dialect of German. They often live in significant poverty as well. And there's been an interesting project where Amish from states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and other places have been going down to Mexico to help teach, colony Mennonite schools there. Been a long tradition.
Honey, I'm home.
Now for over 2 decades. So Old Order Mennonites, Old Colony Mennonites, these are two groups that have similarities with the Amish culturally, and also I would say probably mentality as well. So when you ask the question, what's the difference between the Amish and the Mennonites, I would say, well, what group of Mennonites are you talking about, right? The plainer the Mennonites, they're more similar to the Amish, okay, even in the very ways they live, but even some of the more conservative Mennonites that are herd driving, feel an affinity or a closeness to one another, and cultural similarity. One would drive a car, they may still dress plainer clothing and have plainer ways. The number of those similarities would increase, and the plainer the Mennonite becomes. The progressive Amish. The range within Mennonites is even greater in terms of, you have all the way from horse and buggy driving, Mennonites, all the way to modern car driving, professional people. You have university professors that are Mennonites. You have doctors that are Mennonites. That's another difference there, that more progressive Mennonites will have a higher, level of education. They permit a higher level of education, which the Amish don't do that. Right? They stop at in 8th grade. I hope that answers that question. I do 2 videos per week. If you haven't already, just hit the subscribe button, and that will keep you in the loop. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.
So they go to school until 8th grade, work on the farm, and this is it. We quickly find out that the world has nothing to go. Should I take a look? Vast majority don't vote. Jesus Christ as our president. He's 6. It'll start learning English this year. But what are people scared here about U.S. education? God is going to teach things that we don't do. They would go to war. They have no interest. That is why the minorities didn't want to see where you're at. Hey, wait for me. Go check out their pie. I have a phone, but it's limited. It's locked. Couples control each other's internet. How do you guys get along with the non-Amish and the English people? Good morning, guys. Here in beautiful Holmes County, Ohio, to one of the largest Mennonite populations in the world. So a local reached out to me.
Citizens reporting a Grand Theft Auto on Portola Drive in Rockford Hills.
Who's the back road to you? So there's nothing more I love in this world than getting into someone else's world who's different than me. So today we're meeting up with Josh, who's a Mennonite, lived here his whole life. He's going to show us the inside scenes of what's going on here in Holmes County.
Look out!
Josh here on his roof. I don't know exactly what he does. You're a farmer, Josh, right? All right. I mean, I haul sawdust to 2 chicken farms. It's so nice here, Josh. Really? It's clean. Sir, everything's tough. Holmes County for you. Pride in their property and yeah, I mean, like all these parts, there's flower beds everywhere. I mean, this is the back of a gas station. Is that what it is? Pure fresh air? I think so. Like,
Oh!
So keep it up with the Joneses.
Well, you don't see me driving?
Like, how buck your grasses, how nice your garden looks. Okay, so the first thing you need to know, think of it in this way.
Forgive me.
You have liberals and you have Republicans, right? Okay. Your circles, sure. There's extremes on both sides, right? There's extreme liberals, there's extreme conservatives. Okay. So,
Access to all available units. Rabbit 211 silent on an armored truck. Respond code 3.
Where do you fall? I mean, asking myself, I say right there.
Citizens report assault with a deadly weapon on
yes, because
South Rockford
we call
Drive.
ourselves,
That's
we actually don't call ourselves Mennonite, we call ourselves before we get into this, where are we going right now? Going to Chalk.
Suspect southbound on South Rockford Drive.
Amish? No. The chicken barn is Amish. Okay. And by English, it means anyone that's not Amish. Correct. And so you guys work together here. Oh, yes. We do business with anyone who wants to do business. That's in the business world, like, a lot of the Amish people around here have their own business. Damn right. Then they hire a driver, like on English, to take the crews out for any construction. Because they're more conservative Amish. They're right. They hire some right. Interesting. And
basic difference.
Okay, so the basic difference between us, my Mennonite or Nietzsche Amish, we drive.
Dispatch, I've got some suspects.
In our houses, we have modern homes, we have
Big truck.
the truck, right? See, I'm driving. What is this?
Officers report in northern Southport.
That's not considered the mom. No, like wait, no.
So I got a mic where you sit, where you're sitting, where you're standing.
Okay.
There's Amish that are so conservative.
Yeah, the most conservative.
They live in their houses without any electricity, without any indoor plumbing.
And they're out here.
Yes. Oh yeah, we'll see. We'll go past a couple other places. Those are sports and